Welcome you all to Believers as Academy, and in this today's topic of the day discussion, we will be discussing a very interesting and a very important topic as far as the India's renewable energy sector is concerned. So it is the recent rollout or the change that is brought by the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy is concerned, and this is the decision where it has taken to introduce the new approved list of models and manufacturing for the wind energy by trying to replace the old RLMM framework. Okay, RLMM framework, which was earlier introduced in the year 2018. So one key thing to important feature of this particular rollout to keep in mind that this is not just uh, you know a technical change that has been brought down, but a strategic step to make sure that India has or strengthens its own domestic manufacturing, even in terms of protecting data, and also to boost the innovation in the wind energy sector. Also to make sure as a overall aspect that it even tries to meet the COP26 target that India had set, where it has decided or it has an ambitious target of reaching 500 gigawatt of energy capacity by the year 2030 from all the renewable sources like your solar, including the hydro, and even talking about the wind and also the nuclear energies all together, right? So now let's try and understand the context in the first place. Earlier under the RLMM, the old renewable, or let's say the revised list of models and manufacturing, RLMM 2018, the focus was mainly on whether a wind turbine, right? A wind, because since we are mostly talking about the wind energy sector here, it is primarily the wind turbine model. So here, according to this, it stated whether a wind turbine was tested and technically reliable, and it was a very simple mechanism in terms of quality check and other aspects, right? It was a very simple mechanism. But now with the revised approved list of models and manufacturing, the government has come up. In fact, the government has yet to give out the notification as to who falls under the approved list of the manufacturers and the models, so that further manufacturing, or let's say anything or everything related to this particular field, or even to procure, and even the manufacturers, right, they must and should buy, or let's say even uh, make use of these manufacturers which are listed by the government itself. So that is the whole point. And the government, if you just look at this aspect, is seeing a very thinking things in a very bigger picture here, right? Because here the aim is not just quality assurance like the before earlier RLMM, but here the major agenda of the government with this ALMM is very multi-dimensional. Speaking of which, the very first thing that the government is trying to do along with quality assurance is also trying to make sure that it strengthens the domestic supply chain. This is one of the key aspect of this particular move. Second one is to ensure data sovereignty, or also in terms of cyber security, and also it wants to create a very good research and development hub, and also at the end of the day to make India competitive at the global level, especially in terms of wind energy market. So this particular rollout by the government in terms of in the name of approved list of models and manufacturing plays a very important role to make sure that it keeps India not just as a very simple nation that only focuses on the simple mechanisms or the quality checks, or let's say even in terms of how much we are importing with respect to the items that we need to ensure that our wind energy sector is functioning smoothly and properly. we are relying mostly on foreign imports, right? So this particular rollout tries to achieve or tries to make sure that these hurdles are also, transcended, and also along with that, making sure that, we become data sovereign and also have our own research and, development in our own soil, and also make sure that, we are competitive, across the global stages, right? And now let's try and understand some of the key changes, or sorry, the key highlights of this particular, rollout. So what are the key highlights of ALMM, if we just have to see? First is the domestic supply chains, as we have already discussed here, the manufacturers, right? The manufacturers of these wind turbines, they must rely on the sources, for example, all the critical sources that are required for the, manufacturing of wind turbines, like, yeah, for example, the blades, towers, gearboxes, generators, special bearings, and all of it. So all of these things must and should be procured from those approved manufacturers, those approved Indian suppliers only. So this is one of the great initiative, where it ensures that it reduces the imports, right? Reduces the imports, and also makes sure that it strengthens the local industries, right? Because now, right now, if we see, we import more from China. Also, if we see, China is doing absolutely great in terms of, the wind energy, and also the, the use of renewable energy. So the major, import component of these wind turbines right now for India is from China. So it wants to make sure that this dependency is reduced, right? So hence, the first and major key highlight of this ALMM, program, or ALMM rollout, is to make sure that the domestic supply chains is secured. Second important thing is the data localization. So here, under this, all wind turbines, okay, all wind turbines, and in fact, the operational data with respect to these wind turbines, all operational data must be stored within the country. Okay, this is one important rollout. Okay, this is to ensure that even that the control centers that we have, right? This is to ensure the even the control centers with respect to, to these turbines, right, must be located in India. And why this? This is to ensure that data sovereignty, is ensured, and also data security is guaranteed. So this is another added advantage, and this is one of the key highlight. Next is the terms, the condition with respect to R&D centers, right? So every manufacturers under this, has to and must and should establish research center within 1 year to design turbines suited for Indian wind and climatic conditions. So every manufacturer has to set a R&D center, and that too within 1 year, right? Within 1 year. As to, why, why this, the question is why this becomes important is because, if we see, because turbines designed for, European wind patterns may not perform actually well in the Indian climatic conditions, right? So to ensure that, we need innovation, and we need tailored, models for the Indian, continent, and the Indian subcontinent, and the, Indian wind and climatic conditions. The R&D centers are supposed to be maintained here in the Indian soil itself. So that is another, key highlight of this program. And talking about the quality standards, from September 2026, it is important to keep in mind that all these wind turbine components must obtain the BIS certification. BIS stands for your Bureau of Indian Standards, right? So this is like that stamp that assures the quality, right? The quality of a particular product. So now, from September 2026 onwards, all components with respect to your wind turbine must or will require a BIS certification, and this ensures global level quality and reliability, also to ensure what? Better performance, because BIS hallmark, the BIS stamp means it is resilient, it is made for performance, and this will also ensure that it puts confidence in the investors, right? So this is also another key highlight of this program. Now, what are the exemptions? Projects already bid and captive open access projects, right, within 18 months are exempted. Also, however, new manufacturers and models, they get some relaxation. They can supply up to 800 megawatt capacity over 2 years, right, is what the program says, and that too without ALMM listing. So this is only for those who have already bid and has a captive or a open access projects within 18 months, who are exempted. And this obviously encourages what innovation, and also it encourages new entrants to this particular field, right? So now, to appreciate as to why this policy matters, let's also look at India's wind sector. Okay, so India is currently the fourth largest country globally in terms of installed wind capacity, and it contributes about 4.69 to total electricity generation. And now, coming back to this point, India is fourth. Which is the first? The first is China, followed by USA, and third we have Brazil, followed by India. And I think afterwards it's at the fifth place it's the Germany. So now, considering India's place at the fourth, even surpassing some of the major economies, or let's say developed nations, it becomes absolutely important to try and monetize this particular situation or condition, conducive condition of India. So moving forward, our installed capacity has grown from 21 gigawatt in 2014 to over 51.3 gigawatt by June 2025, which is also very exceptional. And according to the National Institute of Wind Energy, the real our potential is very massive, right? Because we're talking about 1164 gigawatt at a 150 m hub height. So that is something talking mostly about the massive potential of the Indian wind sector, right? So that makes it more ambitious, and that kind of ensures that wind is not just about energy transition, but it is about the economic opportunity that we have, that the government needs to encash it. So, and the government's vision is to at least make to in order to encash that, the government's ambition is to make sure that it encashes, or it to make India supply 10% of global wind energy equipment demand by 2030, alongside its other ambition of producing or making India energy sufficient by at least 50 gigawatt through renewable energy sources by 2030. Okay, so now, why was this shift needed? First is the domestic manufacturing, because until now many critical turbine parts were mostly imported, as we discussed that the major imports were happening from China. So now, to reduce the dependence on this wind turbine components, and to align with the Atmanirbhar Bharat vision, and this solely with the ALMM, we have tried to reduce, or in future it will reduce this dependence and align with the Atmanirbhar vision of India. So hence this becomes absolutely important for this particular move. Then, most important thing is to ensure data sovereignty and security. See, wind farms produce operational and grid related data, right? On a daily basis, they produce a lot of data, especially the operational and the grid related data. So if the data is stored outside India, it becomes a security risk, right? So in order to ensure that this does not happen, and also to make sure that cyber security is also at its best, right? So we have tried to we have tried localizing the data, right? Because this localization of data prevents this particular instance from happening. So that is also another important aspect of this particular move. And the third one, it is to boost innovation, because the mandatory research and development required from these manufacturers ensures that we develop our turbines suited for our wind patterns, the wind speeds and even the weather conditions, mostly suitable for the Indian subcontinent, right? And then fourth, the quality assurance, right? So with this BIS certification that we are talking about, we make sure that every turbine is globally competitive in terms of reliability and safety. So the rollout date is very important, September 2026. So this assurance, quality assurance, is another benchmark, another important aspect as to why this will stand out as an alternative for the previous RLMM rollouts. Okay, then is the global competitiveness, because by securing this particular supply, by securing supply chains and ensuring high quality domestic production, India can position itself as a major exporter in the wind equipment market, because this move positions India not just as a consumer. Okay, India is not just as a consumer but also a superior world class wind equipment hub. So this is also another ambitious vision of the government, which makes this program very important. Okay, so in short, at the conclusion, in short, the shift from RLMM to ALMM is a very bold step from the government of India, as it strengthens our supply chain, as we discussed how, and it also safeguards our data through data localization, and also it pushes India towards performing, or producing more high quality, self reliant and innovative, innovation driven renewable energy growth. So this absolutely makes it stand out. And if this is implemented properly, efficiently, India can truly become a global hub, as it has envisioned, as it has dreamt. India can definitely see itself as a global hub for wind energy equipment by 2030, right? And remember, in UPSC terms, this is not just a renewable energy issue. It connects with energy security as well, right? If there is a question on energy security or Atmanirbhar Bharat, even for that matter, your industrial policy, and also your climate commitments from GS1, right? So this particular topic holds really good in terms of addressing all these key other topics of UPSC syllabus, right? So now, even before we wind up, let's try and solve one question from the prelims. So the question goes: consider the following statements about the approved list of models and manufacturers for wind energy in India. This is statement first, this is statement second, and this is statement third. First one, it states that it mandates sourcing of key turbine components from approved Indian sources. Correct. All operational data of wind turbines must be stored within India. That is also correct. From 2026, BIS certification will be mandatory for all wind turbines. Yes, even that is also perfect. So the answer is D. 1, 2, and 3. So well, that's all for today's video. I hope you have understood what this new rollout was with respect to ALMM, and how beneficial it is for India in marching towards its ambitious targets. So I feel this pretty much has covered the entire topic pretty well. So that is all for today's video. For more such informative content, please do subscribe Believers YouTube IAS Academy channel, and hit the like button if you have actually liked the video. Signing off, this is Madan Gopal. Have a beautiful day.